Thank you for joining us to discuss what's become a hot topic, outsourcing facility services. I'm Greg.Edwards with SSC Service Solution, and during today's presentation, you'll learn how outsourcing works and how to cut the budget without cutting your employees. At the same time, you'll see the benefits to your hourly staff and your overall organization. So what is outsourcing? Some people call it contract management, privatization, contracting. Regardless of what you call it, it can be a positive experience for your institution. So as you're listening to me say the word outsourcing, what's popping into your head? If you're thinking negatively, don't feel bad. There are many myths surrounding the word outsourcing, such as workers are brought in from a whole different region, or your current staff is negatively affected. Today you'll see how hundreds of campuses have proven it's possible to outsource without hurting your employees and increase quality, all while saving 15 to 20%. Without cutting services. What support services are we referring to? There are three. First is custodial. This includes all janitorial, event management, basically everything that this current custodial department's doing. Secondly is maintenance. It's all plant operation and maintenance activities, starting from preventive maintenance all the way to being a resource for deferred maintenance analysis. And lastly is grounds. Landscape management that increases curb appeal, along with irrigation repair and pest control, all the way to athletic field management. So let's take a closer look at the breakdown of expenses in these departments. The green represents wages. So in custodial, wages are like over 80%. If you don't decrease wages, you're not going to decrease costs in that department. In maintenance, wages are over 60% as well, but there's another component called purchase services. That's parts, materials, along with outside contractors that add to that. And there's an area, along with wages, that can be decreased. And in grounds, wages are close to 40%, but over 50% of the costs come from supplies and equipment. So let's drill down into each one of these three departments to see how outsourcing can save money. First, custodial. The outsourcing provider first makes an investment in new equipment, adds advanced training on this equipment and best practices, enhances the current leadership, and add these together, and that equals fewer people and therefore less costs. And remember, 80% of the wages, that green bar in custodial, is the area they have to target. Next is maintenance. Service providers save money in two ways. The first is that purchase services, the pink bar part of the bar chart. They reduce the number of local contractors on campus. My story or joke is always, if you happen to know the first name of a local contractor like Joe from ABC Electric, you're probably paying too much. So what outsourcing providers do is they reduce the number of those contractors, add in advanced training and best practices, which means they may need more hourly staff, but they have increased skills. And you add those together and it costs less money with increased quality. The second way, if there's not a lot of local vendors on campus, is to be more efficient in the department. A handheld work order system is one very popular way to increase efficiencies. Again, along with the training and best practices, actually requires fewer hourly workers, which means less dollars and increased quality. And in grounds, the way outsourcing providers save money is they start with new equipment that's sustainable and more efficient and environmentally friendly, along with advanced training and best practices, requires fewer hourly workers, and therefore less money and better quality. So what's common in all three of these solutions? One is national companies provide capital investment, and they do it in two ways. They do it in the form of new equipment and also systems. You also heard me talk a lot about advanced training programs that are specific to the equipment, and that means more efficient work. And all of them increase quality while reducing costs. So at this point, you may be confused because you keep hearing me say reduce labor costs, reduce number of hourly workers. And the name of the presentation is how to cut your budget without cutting your workers. So how do you reduce your labor costs without hurting the employees? The answer is you do it gradually through attrition. It's critical that all current employees are protected in this process. Basically, when the outsourcing provider shows up, your employee should have the same paycheck, and the only thing that should be different is the logo on the check. So this is an example that would show that your logo is on the left-hand side, and remember, this is what your net pay was, and comparing that exactly to the new service provider and how they deduct for certain benefits and the pay rates, everything needs to match. You want employees to be whistling while they work, not upset about they just got something cut from their paycheck. So let's take a closer look at the numbers. So here's an example of a department that has 100 FTEs currently. So the outsourcing provider starts the arrangement or contract with 100 employees. Everyone's protected, but they believe over time, through their benchmarks and with the right resources, the department should be at 80 FTEs. So through normal attrition, over a period of time, sometimes it takes 2 or 3 years, 4 years, just depends on the institution. Again, you know what your turnover rates are in these departments, so you can pretty much calculate when these savings would happen. You'd get to a point where the department is running efficiently with 80 employees. And what you might think is, okay, I get it. I have 100 employees in year one, and so my savings is going to increase over time. So if there's going to be $1 million of savings over the next 5 years, it's going to start out slow and gain as it goes along. But in fact, that's not how it works. How it works is you get a fixed price for all 5 years. And the savings The $1 million you get over 5 years happens $200,000 a year, giving you budget certainty every single year. This is big. Let's talk about other key benefits of partnering with an outsourced provider. The long-term retirement funding that you're currently having to make investments into moves to the private company. You're no longer on the hook for workman's comp. And in these departments, workman's comp's usually the highest of all employees in your university. You free up administration to focus on your mission, academics. Healthcare costs transition from you to the private company, and that's, with Obamacare and the unknown of that in the future, that's actually a big item. And contrary to what many people think, the employees actually benefit with more opportunities for advancement. I'll tell you a quick story I heard on this. Outsourcing provider working in a college in the Charlotte area. They put a director of custodial on campus, and one day the athletic director catches this particular individual in the hall and says, I've been meaning to tell you, I've been here 7 years, and my buildings have never been cleaner, and I really want to thank you for that. The director said, well, you're welcome. I'm excited you're happy. He said, the athletic director said, I don't know who you put in my building, but whoever those two ladies are, they're doing a great job. He said, well, I'll let them know. The funny part of the story is that there were the same two ladies that have been working in that building for over 9 years. And he thinks there's new people working there, but instead it's the new equipment, the training, the best practices, all the support that they were getting from this director that really made the difference. So these employees of yours actually benefit from using an outsourcing provider. So at this point, I'm going to go out on a limb and say your interest has been piqued. You're curious about whether outsourcing support services is a fit for you and your institution. But I got to warn you. The journey can be difficult. You're definitely going to get resistance. And you're going to have to take the right tact to get there. Okay, because the waters are definitely full of sharks. But it's possible, and I'm serious, it's possible that you can get there as long as you have the right mentor or someone who's successfully been through the process guiding you. This could be an outsourcing partner. This could be one of your colleagues that's gone through this at a different campus. There's lots of ways to learn what others have learned before you, before doing it yourself, that will turn out to be a successful program. And as I said earlier on, hundreds of campuses have gone through this and have been successful in the process. There are 6 recommended steps to successfully navigate through this process. If you move any of these steps around or skip any, you could find yourself in those shark-infested waters we talked about before. The first step is data collection. Here, the outsourcing provider collects data, budget information, employee rosters, all the information they need to figure out where you are today in each one of these departments. The second step is the operational assessment. This is where the outsourcing provider shares with you their assessment, their benchmarks, what your institution could look like if you transition to an outsourced model over the next 5 years. And the third step, it's important you don't skip this one, is the internal discussion. This is where you take the presentation from the outsourcing provider and talk about it internally. And it's key to get the right people at the table, because if you skip some people and jump to the next step, which is the conclusion, you're going to have people not on board. And those sharks could derail the process. So then you go to the conclusion. Should we move forward or should we not? Is this worth it? Is it not? Is there enough savings to make it worth it? Yes or no? The fifth step is the communication plan. This is where you really need to bring the employees, the students, the faculty, anyone who's going to be affected by this decision or conclusion you've made has to be part, I recommend, has to be part of the discussion and be communicated correctly. Again, your mentor will be a key resource in this area to help you navigate through this. Let me tell you a story of someone who missed this step. College in Tennessee, they came to the conclusion that they wanted to outsource these departments. Didn't tell anyone. No employees, students, faculty heard about it, weren't at the table. And they said, we're going to do this. They had prayer vigils on campus. The students had prayer vigils for the employees. They had protests. All these things could have been avoided if they only found out that all the employees are going to be hired and fully protected. But they missed this step, and it caused them a lot of aggravation. The sixth and final step is some type of competitive process and negotiation. This is where you get it down in writing and decide what all the finer points are going to be. So the summary of the process, again, skip or remove any of these, and it could mean trouble. So now you've gone through the process and you've saved significant dollars, 15 to 20%. What are you going to do with the money? Right? It's a good problem to have. Let me share with you what one institution, the Texas A&M University in College Station, decided to do. So they went through the very same process that we've talked about today, this past spring. And just recently, President Lufkin announced a $6 million program to hire new faculty members and support grad students. And he attributed that ability to do this because the funds were derived from outsourcing and private sector partnerships. So these reallocated resources are now being put towards their key mission, which is furthering academic excellence. And I hope from this presentation that a similar process at your institution will help you get closer to your key mission. Thank you for your time. I hope this presentation has given you a more informed view of outsourcing support services and potentially can help you and your employees reach your particular goals. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. It's Greg.Edwards at sscserve.com. I'd love to clarify anything that I said here today. Have a great day.